Can an MBBS actually get some advantage if they go through your fellowship?
So there are several doctors who actually got 40% hike.
Do you feel these programs are actually a shortcut?
Yes and no.
Being a NMC disapproved course, what is that shortcut?
The simple answer is it does not come under the NMC.
Does any student who has taken an admission in your course, the fellowship course, has come out with a regret?
There are a few examples because
How will the student enhance his clinical skills when there is no hands-on?
so one is which is very important, I think.
Why should a student not go through their NEET PG exam, USMLE exam and choose your course instead?
NEET PG, it's very important, but it's not end of the world, I would say.
We are on a mission to build India's largest community of doctors. And thank you so much to each one of you for supporting me in this mission. Today, we are going to discuss a very unusual topic. Each one of you knows about fellowship courses. Some consider it a shortcut, some consider it illegal, and there are so many myths involved with it. We all feel that these courses actually poach our normal jobs. Do you think these kind of courses should exist in India? Today, we have the expert with us. He is the founder of Medigrad, Mr. Mohit Arora. They are India's leading online education provider for UK accredited courses with more than 40 plus specialities. With their collaboration with one of India's best corporate hospitals, they are the best people to tell us about how valid these courses are. So let's put our hands together and let's welcome Mr. Mohit Arora. Welcome, Mr. Mohit, to our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So today we are going to talk about something which we have never done before. We are going to talk to a company who actually does fellowship courses in the medical field without NMC approval. It's a very controversial thing that we are going to do. So Mohit ji, we are going to talk about the negative aspect of these courses. But before we get onto those aspects, I respect you a lot as a founder. As an entrepreneur, you have, without a medical degree, done a lot of work in the medical field. And trust me when I say, as a medico, it almost sounds impossible. So let's start with the foundation of Medigrad. What made you venture into this field without having a medical degree or any medical connection? What made you be a founder in the medical field?
So first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Nachiket, for inviting us here. So if I talk about my personal journey, I have been into business management, but I have been around education, not specifically medical education, but I was around edtech, right? And coming from a small town like Sonipat, so I've realized that in tier 2, tier 3 cities, there's a huge dearth of options available to upskill for the doctors. So this is something which I realized while living there, and later I realized that is a problem with other tier 2, tier 3 cities as well. And when I digged in deeper, I realized that there are so many organizations in UK which are utilizing technology and offering programs, blended learning programs around healthcare. So that brings an idea like, we can bring similar kind of structure for the Indian doctors as well. And that was the kind of foundation. We actually thought that, Medigrad can act like a bridge for the doctors in tier 2, tier 3 cities and in metro cities as well to connect with the senior doctors, understand about, their experiences, gain through their experiences. So that's how we started Medigrad.
Boss, Medigrad, again going on to the negative aspect of this particular fellowship. You guys are doing a lot of work, fellowship in diabetology, fellowship in neonatology, obstetric gynecology, other courses also. Now, there are a lot of myths in the mind of our students. Can an MBBS actually get some advantage if they go through your fellowship? Are these fellowships actually legal? I mean, doing these kind of fellowships actually makes sense. So, my request to you in the very start of the podcast is let's break those myths.
Sure.
But before we do, you have to list the myths to me. That these are the myths that are available in the market right now. These are the apprehension that the people have. So what are those apprehensions?
Sure. So I think that's a very good question. So if we talk about myths, there are a lot of questions which we face on daily basis. Like, is fellowship equal to MD or MS? So, I'll answer that question first of all. No, it's not equal to MD and MS, because you have to understand MD, MS, it's a formal education, it's a formal degree program. Whereas the kind of fellowships which we are running and managing, so these are primarily for skill enhancement and knowledge upgradation. If someone wants to know about the medical advancements, we have specific programs for them. So it's not equal to MDMS. So if you'll ask me whether you'll work as a specialist after doing fellowship programs, the answer is no. But if you'll ask me whether you'll gain knowledge or in-depth understanding about a particular field, the answer is yes. So for example, if someone is doing fellowship in diabetology, what we are trying to do is various, academicians, senior academicians and clinicians have put all their knowledge, all their experiences into these kind of fellowship programs. So in case if you're learning, if you're studying this 1 year program, you're going to learn about their experiences. So this is what we are trying to do. We are trying to impart specialized knowledge, upskill themselves, enhance their clinical skills through these fellowship.
Boss, most people think only doctors can fix the medical education and curriculum and the whole system. Do you agree on this?
Well, that's true that doctors have the insights about the field, but that's not the fact. If we see that there are various brilliant innovations around healthcare edtech which has come from non-doctors. For example, Coursera and Khan Academy. So these were kind of started at being managed by non-medicos. And if we talk about organizations like Up to Date and Medscape, these are being managed by non-doctors. So that's not the fact that only people from the medical industry can do it in a better way. But of course, they do have deep insights. But there are a lot of examples around us, which proves that a person from a non-medical background can also excel and do a great job around this area.
What do you think are the three biggest problems in the medical education and again the curriculum? Now, how do you think that you as a person can actually go ahead and fix it?
So, what I feel is when we talk about a formal medical education, so I think the first point is the seats availability, the limitation of the seats. There's a huge demand supply, mismatch around the seats availability here in our country. So that is problem number one. Second is exorbitant, the fees which private colleges are charging. So that is the point number two. And I think in tier 2, tier 3 and rural areas, the shortage of skilled faculty is the third biggest problem, what I realize. So through Medigrad and through our fellowships, what we are trying to do is we are trying to break that boundary barrier first, making it very affordable. And as I said, the kind of delivery which we do through these programs, these are to the point, very crisp, very practical, which one can utilize into their clinical practice.
What do you think are the three biggest challenges you faced when you started your own startup? Now, basically, you are into healthcare, education, and skill building. So, what are the three biggest challenges you faced?
Well, I think there are many more. Since you said that I'm supposed to list three, I think the biggest problem was creating a quality content. Because there were certain organizations, who were delivering similar kind of programs, but the content they were trying to again make it very theoretical heavy. So this is something which we tried to do while building the programs. We wanted the content to be very precise, very crisp, very short, and very very practical. So creating quality content was the challenge number one. And second is scaling the training, because again medical education, it's like driving, you can't learn theoretically. So that is what we tried to inculcate during the online part of the program as well, to keep it very very practical, live interactive sessions with the faculties. But the most important thing is the practical exposure. So scaling the practical exposure to different parts of the country, that was challenge number two, tying up with the hospitals, partnering with them, sending our enrolled students. So that was point number two. And third was the acceptability, because there was a myth that medical education can be done in a traditional way through face-to-face interactions and live classes, physical classes, I would rephrase it. So that was the acceptability was the third point, which we realized as we moved. Like most of our admissions come through word of mouth. People actually realized while doing these programs and listening through their friends and fellows that blended learning for healthcare, it's a brilliant idea.
Boss, I'm going to discuss these myths only now.
Sure.
I'll be very frank. If you ask me, I do have a very negative mindset regarding these courses. I have been into the medical education. I always feel these courses are a shortcut. I believe this is the mindset of our students as well. Because when they think about these courses, they think, how can a person learn a fellowship through an online course? Just theory. I believe that today we are going to discuss about those myths that our students have. They believe that this can be an illegal course. Is this actually legal? This is not an NMC approved course. And can it actually be a beneficial course or an add-on in their career and journey? Now I will request you to please talk about these myths. How do you break these myths?
I think the biggest myth is that, or I would say that the repeated questions which initially we were getting, that whether these fellowships can be compared with MD and MS, the answer is no, because MD and MS, it's a regular degree program, it's a formal education, whereas these kind of fellowships are primarily for skill enhancement and knowledge upgradation. So if you're coming here asking whether after doing these MD and MS can you practice as a senior consultant, the answer again it's no, because we are not providing a degree program here. We are providing skill enhancement fellowship programs. So if you want to learn in depth about a particular field, you should join fellowship program if you want to upskill yourself into a particular stream, because in MBBS, as we understand, you study about medicine, you study a bit about everything. If you want to dig in deeper, if you want to enhance your knowledge and skills into a particular area, then fellowships would be beneficial for you. But in case if you say that whether it's a replacement for MD and MS, which is not true, because we're not a university, we're not providing a degree program, we are simply offering fellowship skill enhancement programs. So that is something which we really clear to all the prospects which comes here asking about the programs.
Now, will this course actually help a medico in their career and job, getting a job, or being better than their peers?
Of course, it would be, because again, if we see if there's an MBBS doctor against a person who has done a kind of fellowship which we are offering, who has insights about a particular field, in case if they are applying for a position into a private hospital, definitely they'll be having an edge over other MBBS, because this person is trained, this person has very good knowledge about a particular specialization as compared to an MBBS. So of course they'll be having an edge when they're applying for a private job. So I would like to clarify again, NMC is another question which we get, whether these programs are approved or accredited by NMC. So matter of the fact is no, because these kind of programs does not come under the purview of NMC. So again, as I said, these are kind of blended learning programs, primarily for skill enhancement. So if you want to upskill yourself, if you want to get trained into a particular field, because that's what we do, we try to tie up with best of the hospitals for the training exposure. When we build the program, we get assistance of best of the people into that particular industry. They vet the content, they have created the curriculum, they have written the content, they deliver the program through live interactive sessions. So in case if you actually want to gain knowledge and information, want to upskill yourself, these programs would be beneficial for you.
What kind of students are best suitable for your programs?
Every MBBS doctor who actually want to know about a particular field, who are actually passionate about a certain field, those are the right people for these fellowships. So in case if you want to make your career around diabetes, we have a brilliant program which is fellowship in diabetology. So those are the people who can actually join our programs.
Do you feel these programs are actually a shortcut?
Yes and no. It's not, I would say no, because we are not missing out on any of the point. So in case if someone want to start their clinical practice around that area, we are trying to, provide all that information, all that knowledge, which can be utilized during their clinical practice. But having said that, it's not a theoretical heavy. It's to the point, as I've already stated, it's very practical content, what we are trying to deliver through these programs. So yes, you're gaining a lot in a very short span of time, but again, it's not a shortcut, I would say.
Do you feel that the students who enroll into your program, do they get any kind of hands-on to the patients?
So answering to your question, yes, a candidate do get the practical side or the practical aspect of a particular specialization. For instance, fellowship in diabetology. A person who has joined a fellowship in diabetology for 11 months, they study online. They do the self-paced learning. They study with the live interaction with the doctors, and once they complete that, then for 1 month they're supposed to go to one of the partnered hospitals where they're attached with the senior doctors. They go for observership. They see the patient. They maintain a logbook where they maintain all the details about the patient, about the treatment procedures, etc. Then there are case discussions with the senior consultants over there. Department visits are there. So if you're talking about diabetes, again, there are several departments which they are supposed to visit, like diabetes, foot care, etc. So all the practical aspects are also covered in these programs when they go for the clinical attachment.
So if I just talk to about fellowship in diabetes, for example, now that is, I think, one of the most demanded courses of yours. Can you take me throughout the journey of the student with you?
Sure. As rightly stated, it's one of the best programs which we have, understanding the fact, like, by 2030, as per the reports of ICMR, there'll be 100 plus million diabetes patients here in India itself. So if we talk about the entire academic journey, so whenever any candidate join our program, so we provide them the study material in the form of, reading material, which is imparted. Then we create the login credentials into the LMS through which they have the access for the ebooks, they have the access for the recorded video sessions. Apart from that, there are periodic live interactive sessions with the senior faculties where a particular important topic of that particular module is taken, and then they're supposed to interact with the faculties. Then we have several case discussions followed by online simulation trainings during the 11 months of online journey. And as I stated, like for 1 month, they're supposed to go to one of our partnered hospitals for the clinical exposure. Whatever they've studied online, they're supposed to see the practical aspect when they're attached with one of the hospitals.
And which all hospitals have you partnered with?
So if you talk about in Delhi, Max Hospitals Group is where they can go for the training. In Hyderabad, we have KIMS hospitals. In Bangalore, we have Sparsh hospitals. In Chennai, we have Bilroth hospitals. So in total, approximately 80 plus hospitals are there across India where they can, go for the training into their, near vicinity.
So, like, if a student is not from these kind of cities, then what is the option for
So
them?
that's what we try to do. When I say that, we are trying to break, boundary barriers. So that's what we try to do. We try to associate with one of the best renowned hospitals around, the nearest vicinity from where our candidates are coming. So as I said, we already have 80 plus hospitals, and most of the cases there is some other hospital around them. In case if it's not, we try, we keep on expanding our network each year.
What are the maximum job potentials after getting a fellowship from Medigrad?
So, if we talk about the job potential, so as I said, like what we are trying to do here is we are trying to make them job ready in case if someone is interested in making their career around emergency medicine. So, fellowship in emergency medicine is a brilliant program for them because we teach every practical aspect of of the field. In case if they want to start their practice, they'll get to learn everything whatever is required for their daily practice. So I would say each and every program which we are offering, so these are created with the mindset. So the people that once they complete the program, they can just go out there and start the practice into that particular stream.
Any success story that you would like to share with us where a student actually broke that barrier with Medigrad?
Well, there are a lot, but I would name a few. So, for example, Dr. Shashank Desai, who happens to be from Delhi itself, so he did fellowship in diabetology with us. So the idea was he's already a practicing doctor. He wanted to establish his own practice around diabetes. So after doing this program, I think it's been like 7-8 months. He has completed the program and he started his own practice around diabetes. Case number one. And then we have Dr. Anupam from Guwahati, so who actually want to start his practice around emergency. So he did fellowship in emergency medicine program with us. Now he's working as a head of accident and emergency medicine in one of the renowned hospitals in Guwahati.
Which courses, which fellowship courses of yours are in the maximum demand right now?
So I would say fellowship in emergency medicine is one of the best-selling programs because there's a huge shortage of trained ER doctors here in our country, and then fellowship in diabetes is another program. Because as we understand, India is diabetes is known as a diabetes capital. So fellowship in diabetology is one of the most demanded program. Third is fellowship in critical care medicine. After COVID, majorly, we felt there's a huge shortage of ICU trained doctors to cater the patients. So these three programs, I would say, these are the most demanded programs.
If an MBBS student wants to choose a fellowship course, what are the key parameters he or she needs to keep in his mind?
I would say the most important thing is what they are actually passionate about. If they are actually interested around diabetes, so fellowship in diabetology would be the best program for them. But again, you have to understand the market demand as well. I mean, which area where there's a huge shortage, where there's huge demand of a skilled doctor into that particular domain. That is something which you actually need to understand before joining any fellowship program. Then where exactly do you want to see yourself 5 years, 10 years down the line, talking about your clinical practice, because again, you have to do it for a longer run. So of course you have to understand your long-term goals. Accordingly, you should choose that particular fellowship.
Do these fellowship courses also help in getting a good government job?
I would say may or may not, but definitely around the private sector, because private hospitals do understand the importance of these fellowships, but government hospitals do have their own norms. So they may or may not, as I said, in the government side, but in private hospitals, definitely there is a huge demand of such trained fellowship doctors.
Being a NMC disapproved course, I think this course must be having some kind of major shortfall. What is that shortfall?
So I would like to rephrase it. So these fellowship programs are not disapproved by NMC, because these programs does not fall under the purview of NMC. We're not saying this is a degree program which we are delivering. These are skill enhancement programs where a person who want to upskill themselves into a particular stream, if they want to gain in-depth knowledge about a particular field, these are the program for those doctors. If you're looking for a degree program, sorry, you don't have a degree program. So I think it's a biggest myth talking about NMC approval or disapproval. The simple answer is it does not come under the NMC purview, I would say.
If I ask you something very frankly, can you be honest with me?
Sure.
Does any student who has taken an admission in your course, the fellowship course, has come out with a regret that I wasted my time here? I could have done something better.
I think there are a few examples because whenever any student joins the program, they have certain expectations. There were certain cases where a postgraduate doctor has joined a particular program, for instance, fellowship in infectious diseases. They had certain expectation that they'll be taught in a certain way. But matter of the fact is they already had that knowledge. So those kind of a few examples are definitely there where we could not match their expectation, but in most of the cases, I would say in 99% of the cases, we have tried our best to build programs which would actually be beneficial for MBBS doctors who want to gain in-depth understanding about a particular field.
So, if a student wants to join your course, what he or she should expect from the course? The real time expectations.
So the real expectation is if you want, want again, I would repeat my words. In case if you want to gain in-depth knowledge about a particular stream, you should join our program. In case if you want to enhance your clinical skills around a particular field, you should join our program. If you want to, give a boost to your career, in case if you want to enhance your profile, again, our programs would be beneficial. In case if you want to build your career outside India as well, because the kind of programs which we are offering, they have certain modules which are created by one of the reputed global bodies based out in UK, like Royal Colleges. So we are trying to give the global perspective as well around that particular field. So I think whosoever is looking out for skill enhancement and knowledge upgradation, want to know about medical advancements, these programs would be beneficial for them.
You have just talked about that a student can enhance their clinical skills by joining your program. How will the student enhance his clinical skills when there is no hands on?
It's primarily, when they go to a hospital. So they are, as I said, they are attached with the senior doctors. So first of all, they are learning, by seeing the procedures, by doing a proper observership, because they'll shadow a senior doctor, whatever, treatment procedures they are following. So they'll be shadowing that particular senior doctor. So one is observership, which is very important, I think. Whatever theoretical part they have covered, it's important to see the actual reality, how exactly a procedure happens, how exactly a diagnosis is done, how exactly a patient follow-up is supposed to be done in that particular area. One, and in certain cases, whenever they are attached with a senior doctor, in case if that doctor feels the person can do the hands-on training, so the person can actually learn while doing as well, wherever it's feasible, the hands-on training is provided. Otherwise, observership, case discussions with the senior doctor, department visits, attachment with the doctors, and then they are discussing multiple cases, and then they are maintaining the logbooks. So there, it's a overall experience for a doctor coming with the kind of knowledge which you're trying to impart through the material which we have created through live interactive sessions which we do with various senior academicians, and then coming to a hospital, seeing the practical side of it. It actually helps boosting the confidence of a doctor while managing their clinical practice, or while working any of the hospital. So whatever they're supposed to practice, we are trying to give very precise information around that area.
Boss, give me a reason why should a student not go through their NEET PG exam, USMLE exam, and choose your course instead?
So I'm not saying one should not apply for NEET PG or USMLE exam. One should definitely try for that. But I would like to say it's not end of the world, because you have put your bit, you have given your best shot while preparing for NEET PG, and then appearing for the exam. So I'm saying, in case if you're not able to crack it, it's not end of the world. So either simultaneously or later also, you can join one of our fellowship programs in which you're interested, which will actually help enhancing your skills. As I have already phrased many times, it actually helps gaining in-depth knowledge about a particular field. It will actually help boosting your career in the longer run. So I think NEET PG, it's very important, but it's not end of the world, I would say.
Boss, I have a burning question in my mind, and I think our students must be having so. I believe that this can actually lead to a person who has done a 6 month course poaching a job which is available for a 3 year MDMS course. Now, let me be fair, a 6 month course and a 3 year grueling degree cannot be equivalent. How do you justify? How can this person not acquire the job which was actually available for a 3 year MD guy?
No, I agree with you, because these are two separate journeys altogether. You can't compare a person who has done fellowship program of 6 months or 1 year as compared to a person who has done a 3 years degree program. So these are two different journeys altogether. I would say, in case if a person has done fellowship program, in case if they are applying for a particular position, for example, I'll give you, recently there was a position of CMO in one of the hospitals in Meerut. There were around 28 applicants, people who are actually having same MBBS degree. So I would say, in case if a person has fellowship certificate with them, fellowship trained doctor, so obviously they'll be having an edge in those cases. They'll be having an edge over MBBS doctor, but they can't supersede a person who has a degree of MD or MS, because MD and MS would compete, or would be filling up the position which is suitable for an MD or MS. But these kind of fellowship, as I told you, these are primarily skill enhancement programs. We are giving in-depth knowledge about a particular field. So in case if they're applying for a position like CMO, so these fellowships would be beneficial in those cases. But there's no comparison between fellowship and MD and MS.
Basically, you guys provide an X factor.
Correct.
That if everybody is equal, if a person has a fellowship, so he has an X factor to differentiate him from his peers. Okay, that again is a very justified answer. Boss, how does a student apply to these courses? Does it have a entrance exam, or a student can simply apply to these?
There's no such entrance exam, but there is a specific minimal eligibility criteria one needs to follow, which is primarily MBBS degree with an MCO State Council registration. But in certain programs like fellowship in emergency medicine and critical care, they're supposed to, clear an interview with a hospital, and then they can apply for the program.
Can other degrees also apply? For example, BDS, BAMS, BUHMS. Can these degrees also apply to these courses?
Well, as of now, the kind of programs which we have, only MBBS or postgraduate doctors can apply for the program. But as of now, we don't have the programs for BDS and alternative medicine doctors. But yes, we are working around that, and we might be having a few programs specifically for them in the shorter run.
Was how are these programs recognized internationally? What is the scope in abroad India?
So, as I said, we have infused multiple modules, which gives the global perspective around a particular area. So, whenever they complete the program, they get certain CPD points, which will be beneficial when they are applying for a position outside India. But again, there are certain norms, like if you're applying for a job in UK, you know that they have to clear the pleb exam. In the similar way, there are certain exams which they're supposed to clear in case if they want to apply into a specific country. But yes, these programs, the kind of material which we are providing them, the kind of deliverables we have, that will be beneficial while applying for a particular position.
It's a very frank question from you, and I need a very honest answer. Do you actually think that these fellowships after MBBS or MD can actually lead to an increase in salary?
Absolutely. Because as I've stated, a person who has only MBBS against a person who has actually, gone through a 1 year intense program, they have done the practical training, they have interacted with the senior doctors, they have studied the content which is created out of, 25, 30 years of experience. So definitely they have better career prospects. They can expect higher salary relatively whenever they're applying for the job within India or outside India as well.
Do you have any examples to share with us?
We have several, yeah. There are multiple, doctors who have completed fellowship in diabetology, fellowship in emergency medicine and critical care. These are the most demanded programs outside India as well, like in Middle East and UK as well. So there are several doctors who actually got 40% hike than what they were, hoping when they only had MBBS degree.
40%.
Yep.
That's a big number.
It is indeed, because we have to understand, whenever MBBS is applying for a position, in case if they are well trained, if they are well aware to manage, the clinical practice over a person who has just done, theoretically, who has just done MBBS, who has just done the internship. So the other person who has done fellowship, so obviously they are well trained, they have better exposure, they have better understanding about that field. So they can definitely expect better salaries when they're applying for the similar position.
I don't think that every hospital in India would have a good acceptance of these kind of programs. So if you have to list down 5 top corporate hospitals in our country who really appreciate these programs, which 5 hospitals would those be?
I think I'll not be stating a particular name, but we need to understand, in all of our programs, the students are attached with one of the renowned hospitals in that particular, area. So whenever they are doing the training, in a lot of cases, we have realized that the person were absorbed in the same hospital itself, because when they are trained with the senior doctors, senior consultants, they do understand the worth of those trainees. So the job opportunities comes hand in hand, while doing their training as well, and they also get much better offers after completing the fellowship.
I think your biggest competitor in this field is Medvarsity. Everybody knows that. It's a big brand name. It has the backing of Apollo. How do you define yourself? How do you stand against Medvarsity?
Well, here I would not compare ourselves with Medvarsity, because again they have a separate journey. They started much earlier, of course. They have the backing of a big hospital. So our journey was slightly different. We understood the requirement, the need of the hour. which was primarily the quality content which we actually focused upon. So that was one of the biggest challenge, as I've already quoted, because whenever anyone is joining these fellowship programs, they're not joining merely for the certificate. They're joining for the quality content. They actually want to learn. And apart from that, the kind of trainings which we are imparting, we are trying to associate with one of the best hospitals across India, and that's what we have done for the best clinical exposure. Apart from that, the kind of support which we give to the students whenever, during their entire academic journey, we try to handhold them, assess them, because there's a lot of tech involved in these kind of programs. So wherever they're stuck, we try to help our learners. Apart from that, the kind of live interactive sessions which we do, because we keep on adding best of the doctors into that particular domain, so that they can share their experiences, they can discuss several cases for the overall learning experience of our learners. So I can just quote what best we are doing. I'm not too sure how they are doing, so I would not like to compare ourselves with Medvarsity.
Do you think that our country does not accept skill much? They still think skill building is actually a waste of time.
Many still thinks that, but they'll sooner or later realize that you have to think beyond degrees, beyond formal education, where you don't get to learn in depth about a particular field. You have to do for better understanding about a particular area, I would say. So the kind of skill enhancement programs which we are trying to deliver, these actually helps the core problems, solving the core problems. These are not theoretical heavy, these are very practical. And I would say in every field, skill enhancement, it's very, very important. We have been focusing on the support staff of healthcare as of now, but we didn't realize the importance of skill enhancement for doctors. So, which people have started realizing that, and we are getting a very good response around that area.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur myself, I always believe skill trumps degree. And in the medical field, it's always the opposite. It's degree over skill. If you do not have 3 to 4 degrees in front of your name, you're not a good doctor. It is as simple as it is. Then why did you come into this field, especially getting into this kind of field, which, rightly says if you do not have the degree, you are not a good doctor. And still you're trying to get up skill enhancement in this thing. Why so?
No, I would ask, how good is a degree when you can't manage a particular situation? I'll take an example of tier two, tier three cities again. So there are people who have MBBS degrees, MD degrees as well, but they can't manage certain situations. They refer to a bigger hospital in tier one city. Why? Because they're lacking the skills which is required during their clinical practice. They're lacking the insights of or in-depth knowledge about a particular stream. They're just sitting with the degree, and in case if you're not able to manage certain situation, and how that degree is helping you, because I think medical field, it's all about the clinical practice. So skill enhancement, it's very, very important in that area, I would say.
You have just said that you found that the doctors were not having those kind of skills. Did you talk to those doctors why they could not develop those skills? Because their whole MBBS, maybe MD also, is based upon clinical skills only. They have to go to the patient, they have to check them up. Anything that you want to do, they have to do that on the patient. Then why they were not able to develop those skills?
I would say, first of all, it's theoretical heavy, the kind of formal education they are doing. And then when it comes to clinical practice, they don't get a very good exposure, to actually practice, to actually learn by doing, because there are so many doctors out there who are practicing simultaneously. They're not guided, they're not supervised with the people who actually have very good experience around that area. So this is something which is different in our fellowships. We have very few learners or the trainers under a mentor. So the kind of focused training or focused learning which we impart, so that is something I think which is very important.
Boss, my final question to you would be, You have done an amazing journey. You're a great entrepreneur. You have managed to get into a field in which you had no connections, yet you managed to make your mark. So, huge respect for that. For our audience who are basically MBBS and MDs, now what would be your advice if you had to be an entrepreneur? How should they go about it? And how important is financial literacy for them?
I would say, first of all, it's very important to understand your passion. So, if you're not passionate about something, you'll not be able to succeed. So, identify your passion, I would say. That is something which is very important. Then you have to identify the problem you want to solve, and then how exactly you're going to solve it. So, that is something which is very important. And then you have to, get it started, because people say I'm waiting for the right time. So there's no right time. So right time is now. So in case if you know what you exactly want to do, if you have figured out the problem and how exactly you're going to solve it, you have to start it now, I would say. Talking about financial literacy, I have heard one of your podcast where you stated there's a huge, difference between a person who has done engineering, who has come out of it at the age of 21, and then a doctor who has come out after the education and the training after 25 years. So of course that person already, have tasted the real life situation. They have already invested in some of the shares or the mutual funds. They have bought a car, as you stated. So the person who has, because MBBS, it's a very intense journey. You have to study a lot. Then you're doing your internship. Then immediately once you're done with your internship, you have to start your clinical practice. So you don't get that kind of exposure, I would say. My suggestion would be, while studying and while doing the internship, you start exploring online. There are a lot of resources where you can go, identify where exactly you can start investing, put in a bit of your money, start small. And you should, try to network, try to interact with people who actually, have understanding about investments and, how to make money. So, yeah.
What do you think is a 5 year future for your courses?
There are a lot of things which we are planning. As of now, we have a certain portfolio of for MBBS doctors. We are trying to put a lot more programs around that, and as I said, we are trying to introduce several programs for BDS doctors, alternative medicine doctors, for them, and for the support staff of hospitals as well. We are trying to launch certain programs around that. Then secondly, we are trying to reach out to Southeast Asian market, because why we made our base as Singapore was to finally tap Southeast Asia market as well, and the Middle East as well. So after India, our main focus would be on Southeast Asia as well. Several countries we have zeroed down. We're gonna expand to those countries as well.
So thank you, Mohitji. With this, we come to the end of the main conversation, and now we move to the rapid fire round. Very simple, only two rules. You have to be super frank with us and super spontaneous. So, Mohitji, the question comes now. If you went in the healthcare edtech space, what would you be doing?
Well, it's very tough to think myself out of healthcare and tech, but I would say food industry probably.
Yeah, that sounds good. What's the best book that you can recommend to our students?
Beyond Entrepreneurship by Jim Collins. It's one of the best books which I have read.
It's one of the best books. Netflix CEO recommends it totally. First 86 pages, every person has to go through it. It tells you everything you need to know about entrepreneurship. What is the mindset required? What are the goal? How do you have to make that goal? Everything that you need to do. This book has it. What's the best gift you have ever received?
A piece of advice: don't think much, do now.
Oh, yeah, nice. What's your favorite sport?
Cricket.
What's the first thing you notice about people?
How they smell.
Ah, nice. What's the last thing you Googled?
Dr. Bhatia's net worth.
क्या पता चला? तो देखो है कि गूगल पे.
100+ था.
Thank you so much, Mohit ji. We got to learn a lot about the new courses, about something new. And I hope our audience also likes it. And I think you have helped us break a lot of myths, how to get that X factor with your course. So I believe if you're thinking about something new, something about getting a new X factor in your life, I think Medigrad is the place to go. So do explore their courses. And I think Mohit ji, you have explained the courses very well. Thank you so much for
Thank
that.
you so much, Dr. Nachiket. It was really nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope you have loved today's session. Anything, any recommendations or feedback, please do not forget to put down in the comment section. And who do you think should be our next guest? Again, put down in the comment section. We have a great lineup coming up. Some legendary doctors who are going to discuss about their legendary life, how they have managed to grow so successful in their field, and everything a new doctor needs to know to be that successful. We have covered everything. Thank you so much, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. God bless you. Thank you.